New legislation supporting life in the womb and beyond has been introduced in the House and Senate, known as the Providing for Life Act. Introduced in the House by Congresswoman Ashley Hinson of Iowa and in the Senate by Senator Marco Rubio of Florida, it's been described as a comprehensive pro-family package. The bill seeks to expand resources that will help moms facing unexpected pregnancies to choose life, and also aims to provide for families who have already made that courageous decision through expanded tax credits, funding for material resource centers, and more. Joining us now with more details is Maureen Ferguson, Senior Fellow for the Catholic Association and co-host of the nationally syndicated radio show, Conversations with Consequences. Maureen, thanks for being here. You recently wrote a piece in The Hill describing what the Providing for Life Act would do and why it's needed. Explain why you think it's legislation like this that we need to really bolster a pro-family culture.
Well, I do think that legislation like this is really important, especially in the wake of the overturning of Roe versus Wade, because we've seen how democracy is a very messy process. But this is a piece of legislation that really ought to garner bipartisan support because it simply supports women who find themselves in a crisis situation while they're pregnant. And this is something that everybody should be able to agree on. And something that's given this legislation impetus is a recent study that showed why women are choosing abortion. And the key takeaway is that most women who are having abortions don't want to be having abortions. And about 60% say that they would have carried to term if only they had a little bit more emotional or financial support. This bill provides that. A full quarter of women say that they feel coerced into abortion.
Wow.
So, how on earth is that at all pro-choice, that a quarter of women receiving abortions are feeling coerced? So this is the type of legislation that can help to build a culture of life block by block. And I think it's just the type of legislation that the pro-life movement should prioritize, because the pro-life movement has always prioritized helping women. And we know that there's a vast network of help out there for mothers and children. So this bill kind of just connects the help to the women who need it.
Yeah, it's really astounding, this point that you make, that people who are pro-choice claim that abortion is the answer, but these women don't feel that they have a right to choose. Thank you for pointing that out. And I'm curious, do you think it's more effective and a quicker way to establish a pro-life culture to be promoting legislation like this, as opposed to just pushing for potential laws that would ban abortion outright? Because obviously the goal is to stop these atrocities.
Right. Well, I think legislation like this, it's sometimes referred to as pro-life safety net legislation. And there are other bills like it in Congress. There are lots of bills like this in the states. I think legislation like this, because it supports women who need it, it helps people to imagine what a culture of life looks like. And I think that's one reason we've had some trouble on the political level, which is why I think we really need to prioritize bills like this, because it helps people to imagine what a culture of life looks like. It actually provides support for women to avoid the tragedy of abortion. So it literally saves lives. It saves women and children from the tragedy of abortion.
Yeah.
And because it changes hearts and minds, it then enables us down the road to make more progress in terms of legislation, protective legislation.
Very insightful. Maureen, what's the role of the Catholic Church when legislation like this is proposed? How can we influence those in the political sphere who have the power to enact these laws?
Well, the Catholic Church was preparing for the overturning of Roe versus Wade with their program called Walking with Moms in Need, which I'm sure you've highlighted on this program. So many parishes across the country have been doing the legwork here, on the parish level, finding people to provide this support that's needed. So the Catholic Church really has been leading on this. Of course, we all need to do more. And the Bishops' Conference here in Washington, D.C. has a great lobbying team that tried to push these legislative initiatives on Capitol Hill. And I know they've prioritized legislation like this.
Very interesting. Maureen, is there anything else that you'd like to add about this legislation before I let you go? Or just kind of the state of the pro-life movement in general now after Roe, what our call is?
Well, I guess I just feel like one of the toughest obstacles to us is what's referred to as the reliance argument, that the other side just argues that women need abortion to be able to succeed in their careers or finish an education or hold their jobs. So I think that legislation like this helps to counter that, because we know that women, that this, the reliance argument, it's essentially underestimating women. We know that women are strong. We know that women are resilient. And pregnancy does put women in a more vulnerable situation. When you have a newborn, you're more vulnerable as a mother. So we just need to provide that little bit of help at this key time of life to help women feel emboldened to make the choice that they want to make. This study showed that 2/3 of women who had abortions say that the abortion violated their own beliefs and their own preferences. So women are choosing abortion when they don't want to. So legislation like this just helps women to make the choice that they want to make and avoid the tragedy of abortion that they really, they don't want to be walking into an abortion clinic in the first place.
Right. Maureen Ferguson, thank you for explaining the details of this legislation, and thanks for joining us today.